taking back control. The underdog just turned into the wolf and the hunger steady grows. Yeah, I call shots while you call off. Never taking some more fall off. When you stay that committed to it, you just fall down and never fall off. So last night took a L, but tonight I bounce back.
Hi family, and welcome back to another division update from your boy Shadow Sigma. I just wanted to give you a little bit more detail. We said that we were going to touch base when more information came out. This afternoon we got that information, and I was not wrong, boys. What we're looking at here, the division update 1.6 in detail. Again, I just wanted to go ahead and get this information out for you, the viewers, to look, to check it out. You may not have had time to get this at noon when it came out, noon, whatever local time you are. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video. We're going to highlight a few things here, try and cover the majority of the big topics and go from there. Starting off, it's going into the DZ. Favorite place, the place to be right now for myself and a lot of other players, whether you're doing PvP or PvE even, picking up those sealed caches, doing runs, getting Phoenix credits, farming out. There's definitely a place for you in the Dark Zone regardless of what you want to do. With that being said, we'll see if that's still the place that you want to go, or if maybe there's other places that you would like to be with the 1.6 update. Dark Zone. So Dark Zone has been extended. There's 3 new areas as we talked about. It's the Northern DZ or DZ North. It comprises of 7, 8, and 9, sort of surrounding Central Park. So we get teased, but we don't quite get to see Central Park. I do believe, it's going to happen at some point. It is not that point now. Basically, it's going straight up from DZ6 and sort of makes like a right, sort of goes east of that. Looking at that, there's new landmarks, there's new enemy waves, new places to go that you can farm. You can pick up intel, you can pick up different loots. You can also fast travel between checkpoints, which is really good. It appears that you can fast travel straight up through DZ 7. If you want to go 7 to 1, 9 to 1, all that would be fine. It has not been released or completely updated if you will have access from the outside world to DZ 7 through 9. I don't see that right now, but we don't have full update on that. Maybe in the future, if they're expanding the outside map, they will. There is some new incursions and other PvE stuff that I still think they are waiting to release full details. So that may be something that they do expand on, and you will be able to just walk straight into a checkpoint from DZ9. Who knows? At this point, I think it's safe to say, you just fast travel there. With that being said, in the DZ, there's going to be new contamination events. This sounds super interesting here. So basically, these underground areas where, you usually use if you're manhunt and you're trying to get away from the 5 people that's chasing you solo or with your group, and you're hoping that the spawn enemies are slowing them down, the NPCs are slowing them down. Now there's a different purpose for those areas. Basically, every hour there's going to be elite cleaners, so they're going to be harder version of the cleaners that we typically do see running around in a contamination zone. In a contamination zone that your filter will not filter out. So your virus filter is strong, it's leveled up, it's good to go. It is not good to go in these areas during these events. You will lose health, and you will have to figure out a way, between you and your team to get yourself healed and basically, kill these enemies. It's sort of like a supply drop in a sense, and something that's going to be on a timed rotation that is going to be a little bit harder than the normal NPCs that you do find, and everyone's going to sort of rush to and try and fight over. But it's something that adds a different level of difficulty, because you're also going to be losing life sort of in a survivor mode, once you get a little too cold. So interesting there. You're going to get specific loot from that also, a la supply drops also. Legendary difficulty, not going to go too much about that. Basically, it's going to be three new missions that are, three missions that have this available: Times Square, Warring Gate Power Plant, and Napalm Production Site. It's not going to be in any of the incursions or anything like that as of yet. They're not going to do weekly challenges as of yet that I've been told of, but it does appear that they are going to have that available, sort of to select to really challenge yourself. Past challenging, and it's even going to be more difficult than heroic. So going into it, big update here. We're looking at the exotic and new items. There's going to be a new gear set. We'll start there. The new gear set is called Seeker. Really interesting, it's been added to the game. Basically, what Seeker entails are body shots. 4-piece bonus, hit 2 body shots. The next one, it guarantees a crit. It's sounds very interesting. It sounds like it probably will become the new meta, especially if we're talking about adding in like SMGs, things like that, because there has been nothing stated that there's going to be any hindrance or any stipulations on it. I know there's previous sets where, hey, I have a shield, but I don't get crit hit chance anymore. No, there's none of that here. 2 shots to the body, next one's guaranteed crit. With the way meta is currently, or with the way the meta appears to be moving with the changes in alpha, which we'll get to, it appears that that's probably going to be one of the team. And when we're talking about teams now, we're going to see some diversity. It's not going to be everyone a 4-man squad of alpha bridge users, running through the DZ wrecking everyone that we're used to. In addition to the gear sets, there are exotic items and weapons. Basically, those named items, those named weapons, those are now called exotic. And what that entails are they have their own unique talent. So every item is going to have a unique talent. Most had them before. Things like Hungry Hog, things like that, are actually adding in new specific talents for them. For example, Hungry Hog is going to come with the Glutton talent, which sounds interesting. Killing a target increases your damage dealt by 20% until you stop firing. So definitely sounds like, hey, now it's a viable thing, right? So you definitely want to make sure you hold on to your named items, which a lot of people did not do. Those were a lot of selling things, especially earlier in some of the older patches. So farm those up as best as you can, as much as you can. They're also adding some unique flavors to some things. Flavor text. There's going to be lores. There's going to be different background. Information about each of the items, whether it's a Barrett chest or something like that. They're going to have like a little snippet underneath that we've seen in other games, which is fine. I don't feel like it adds much to the game, in all honesty. But what does add much to the game is the big change that we have looking at the changes that they're going to do to Alpha Bridge. This is what everyone's been waiting for. Everyone wants to know, hey, what are they going to do? How are they going to nerf it? Are they going to work on different talents for guns that make Alpha Bridge so horribly OP? Or are they going to work on changing the talent itself? And that's what they did. So that's what I was alluding to on yesterday's video. I believe that they were going to go ahead and change the gear itself, and now that 4-piece bonus does not share all of the talents on both of those guns, but only that last talent, that free talent. So there's still some use in there. It obviously becomes drastically worse, just flat out, no way around it. Definitely can still see some use, especially as many people have min-maxed their gear. I do not see that being the meta moving forward, which is definitely good. It's good to change things up. And in addition to that, something I'll highlight here is the Reclaimer set. I think you're going to need that or have that in every legitimate 4-man PvP. Reclaimer set now is not a consumable. It's not a Michael Bay. It's not a burn you down, fire ammo, grenades kind of thing. It's going to be a support build, and that's what it should have been from the start. And some really great builds of recently were some that could balance out some of that support with some of the extra damage support that it can do. But Reclaimer is now focused strictly on support. For example, support station is what it's going to be used used mostly. Support stations now basically will get all 3 mods on a support station. So that's life support, Immunizer, ammo capacity. We all know how good Immunizer has been. With that being said, Immunizer is not going to be as good. The reason why is armor and resistances here, guys. There's going to be huge changes to armor. Armor is not going to be the main stat, the god roll that you need on everything anymore. There's going to be a lot of changes to armor, a lot of changes to what is going to be known as resistance. Basically, every health major stat that you currently have is going to change. It is going to change, and it's going to be called resist, which is a new stat. Resist basically gives you a certain percentage based off of whatever. So you're going to have 40% burn resistance. It means you're going to get an equivalent 40% less damage and have a less duration of that damage. And what they're stating is if you can get 100%, fire right now, flame turrets, OP, right? Shock turrets suck. If you're able to get that 100% burn resistance, they're going to get pinged with a note that says resisted, and you say, bitch, you can't hurt me. It is not going to affect you at all. So that is something that, definitely could be something that, you look to build and add into your specific build. Especially since it's basically going to be a free talent for a lot of people. Seeing as how all the additional health stats are going to be changed. They are no longer going to have that, and the reason why is because armor is changing. Armor is no longer going to be your main source of toughness. Stamina is going to be what it is. So your health is actually going to be more of a reflection of how tanky and tough you are. So we're not going to try and cap out on a certain armor in the sense of what it is currently. So definitely good news there. Armor has been removed as a major bonus. Health has replaced it. While you still do have armor, it is just nowhere near the importance of what it was. Each gear set is going to, or gear item is going to have a base armor, and that's basically what you're going to use to still want to max as best as you can, but you sort of leave it at there and work on building up health versus armor and resistance versus armor. Skill power, they're working on a lot of skill things here. Definitely some highlights. Skill basically is going to be incremental based on the world tier you're on. If you're on world tier 1, it's going to be a completely different skill understanding from tier 5. If you're extremely focused on high skill, you go down to world 1, hey, it's really not that big of a deal. Go to world 5, you'll really notice a big difference in the amount of damage you're doing based on your skill, or the effect that your skills have based on your skill power. So things like shock, sticky turret are going to be even bigger now for people who are running either reclaimer or even tac builds, because there have been some changes to that. Rebalance signature skills. You cannot trigger a signature skill if you're already suffering from an immunity debuff. So tactical link also has been lowered for PvP damage. So a couple things there, sort of FYI. You're sitting there burning, you can't just null your burn from popping a blue. PvP, this is one of the next big highlights on here, guys. A few things. Hip firing is definitely going to get a nerf. It's definitely, that's how you do it. No one ADS is. This is going to make cover to cover that much more of a thing. Hip firing stability while moving has been decreased. There's also a new camera. So it's going to have a different feel to it, and it's probably just going to be flat out a little bit more difficult. Alright, and some final notes here on some of the PvP balancing that they've done just in regards to medkits. Definitely there's a buff. Medkits now remove certain status effects. So basically what the rejuvenated mass would allow you to do as a talent. So you're getting burnt down, pop a medkit, you're good to go. And with that said, the rejuvenated talent is no longer in effect the same way. Now, in place of that, it gives additional resistance to a certain status effect. So, that gets you closer and closer to that 100%, completely resisted, negative status debuff. Outside of that, it affects adrenaline because it's no longer going to allow overheals. Instead, it will just be sort of a gradual heal over time. And when people do use medkits on the enemy team, we're going to see a health flash on their, we'll see the bar flash on their health bar. It basically will allow for better tactical decisions to be made. Let's see, balancing changes on, some of those ultimate abilities or survivability talents on the move. Battle Buddy, Critical Save now have changes. They haven't specifically stated what. They're just changing it some. Some final thoughts, some final wrap-up things here. Economical changes, things that, hey, make a little difference and need to be mentioned and said and tweaked. Prices change, hopefully everything's, rolling back prices. Scavenger boxes now scale with the world tier, which is one of the biggest things on this, summary. You're farming, you're trying to get, close to that 182 sawed-off shotgun, which isn't, soon no longer going to be a thing. You don't want to keep getting the 256 drops, so it's going to base your drops on those scavenger boxes based on the tier in hopes that you can, sort of get that. Because I'm sure in the future there'll be different metas where you may want something and maybe a little bit stronger, without the, highest gear score. But we'll see. Helping civilians gives you intel. So being a nice guy, being, that kind of person, helping out the civilians on the street, they're no longer just going to give you, your water or, going to give you a med kit. They're actually going to give you something useful. Intel, help you go ahead and get closer to those HVTs. Go ahead and get you some new skins, some new gun material, go ahead and get you looking good. Outside of that, recalibration. Unlimited recalibration has been introduced. The price increases each time. Okay, that's what it did before. Capping out at 5 recalibration. No, not capping out, meaning you can't re-roll past 5, but the price stays the same. This is going to be so huge and so big, and I'm so glad they put this in there. I've been saying it to myself and my friends for so long. It definitely needs to be done and put in there. And what my thing was, at the very least, if you recalibrate and you're done with it, like, this is your last time recalibrating, at the very least, you should be able to recalibrate the items or the different talents that you rolled for that last time. So if you roll competent and adept or something like that in your third slot the last time, you want to switch it out to do a different sort of build, i.e., alpha bridge changes, you want to do a different, setup. You can use those talents in the last one in place of the, the last slot that you have. You're not going to get anything new, but you're going to be able to choose, and flip-flop, of course, paying for it, any of those. So, unlimited recalibration works, just as well and fine, and it's actually a little bit better. Hopefully they won't think it's too OP and eventually take it out. But, there's a great suggestion if you're looking for an idea. Some survivability kind of things. Grouping up in PvP survival is disabled. Can't do it. It's survival. It's not let's gun down the noobs. It's really not. If you want to do that, take it to the DZ and, really put it up 8v8, see what you got, put your big boy panties on and let's do it. Reviving a downed player in survival always costs a med kit. So there you go. There are times, if you're down, you have a med kit yourself, you pop it, you can revive yourself. Now it's always going to do it. You have a friendly, bystander here. It's going to cost him one. So if you're going to try and group up and do these kind of things, they're going to make it as difficult for you as possible. So, the next time when you go down, maybe someone's not going to help you. It is survival. All right. Outside of that, each item, each game mode, so your survival, your underground, your last stand. Those game modes are now going to have their own experience points. They're going to have their own reward systems and caches. So you're going to have underground caches, you know, like we have the survival caches, the last stand caches, those kind of things. So that way it will help encourage people to play even after, you know, the leveling system, you know, went out. I can't tell you how many people don't play underground anymore, not because it's so horrible. You know, it brought a, you know, good life and good breath back into the game. It was needed. You know, it was getting stale at a certain point, and I felt like, you know, hey, underground definitely, you know, brought some life back in there. It was a new thing. It was something that, you know, the division really hadn't done at that time, and I think from there it just, you know, sort of got better and increased with the additional modes like survival. So I'm thinking Last Stand is definitely going to be an improvement based off of that, especially like players like myself that are more PvP focused. So I'm really super excited about this, guys. I think they're doing a lot of great things. It's always good to see companies who we invest in our thoughts also, and it definitely appears that the division is doing that to help make improvements, debuff some things, boost some things up, and figure out the best way to balance it to make it fun for the new player who just purchased the game and the player who's been playing since beta. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, like, subscribe down at the bottom, guys. I will be bringing you more content as it comes, and we'll be looking at more PvP action here shortly. Hi, this is Shadow Sigma, and I wanted to thank you for viewing my video. I hope to bring you even more fast-paced, high-quality gaming content. So be sure to follow me on Twitch and Twitter, and subscribe to my YouTube. Wait, why haven't you pressed the button yet?